Hey there, traders. This is Christian Farmhertz, CEO of Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your afternoon recap or end of day recap. And pretty messy day across the indices. SPY down 80 basis points. Qs, which saw the brunt of the selling pressure today, down 1.8%. Small caps also down just a hair under 1%, down about 90 basis points. Emerging markets also down, and some of the sectors got beaten up, which we'll go through those quickly. But Q's really where the damage was today. We saw this. We got a pretty good warning signal yesterday. We talked about this in the trading room yesterday. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but when we see something like this, where we start the day, where Qs were outperforming yesterday going into the open, and then this is a reversal day. When you start the day higher and you finish lower on the day, it's usually a sign that bad things are coming, and which we did see today. So, what did I do? I mean, I didn't really sell out of anything yesterday. I was long some Amazon, long some Google, long some Alibaba via call spreads, and I don't have a lot of room in some of those trades, so I took them off pretty early today. Once I started to see that we were had some volatility, I've got limits out, and I've talked about that before. I've got alerts just to tell me where things are gonna, at certain kind of pivot areas where things are gonna look like they're losing momentum to the upside. So I got out of Amazon. This was a real nice trade for me. Putting that trade on down here and getting out of it right in here. So real nice call spread, a couple call spreads I had on in Amazon. So not to say that the Amazon, maybe I'm getting out of them a little bit too early, but I think you have to respect some areas and take your profits, right? I mean, we don't. It's really difficult to kind of predict what day or how long things are going to move to the upside. So as soon as you kind of see a level that you think is starting to break down, that's usually where I start to take some things off. So we did that last week. We did that on Friday. We took a lot of risk off, and then I took a lot of the remaining positions. I took my Baba position off as well. I had a 130 140 call spread, and it's still Baba is still through my upper strike, but still I think there may be some more downside ahead, and I can't really make too much more on that July call spread. So happy taking those off, especially once we see put buyers just come in left and right in some of these things. JD, we saw a big put buyer this morning, and look at what this thing did. So to kind of ignore these things is not the best thing in the world. I took off the majority of my long play also in JD.com, which was still a hell of a winner. That call spread was put on for $1.33, and I think I took it off today for 250. So right around 250, and I did take some off at the highs as well. So that was a good trade, and that's right around here during the day. Once we saw that big put buyer, I'm like, I'm not messing with with somebody coming in and really trying to short a lot of these China internet plays. You could see big put buyers coming in here a couple different times today. So that got me out, and really kind of watching the tape and seeing some of these things kind of convince you, like, hey, take the trade off, and you could reassess and you could add it possibly lower once the dust settles. So that was really the some of these areas were that I'm talking about are some of the trades that I've had on. But once you start to see momentum to the downside, these are the areas that are going to go. So semis, which we saw a lot of put buying in this group as well, especially yesterday. We got the signals yesterday that something was going down. Skyworks. I mean, look at the size of. If I could bring it up, look at the size of the put buyer yesterday. January 80 puts in Skyworks. I didn't even see what this name did today. I mean, look at this thing. I should have owned the puts. This thing's down 3.4% today after a similar move yesterday. So we definitely got these signals. Corvo was another one that we saw put buying in. 2,500 of these. Let's see what this one ended up. I mean, look at this thing. Wow. So another big down day, down 3%. So, and basically going back to the 200-day moving average, it looks like pretty oversold at this point. I mean, from 79, 80 bucks to 64 in what, a couple weeks. So some areas the selling has been pretty significant. We saw a big put buyer in ON semi, about 5,000 of those go up. Sorry if I've mentioned this one already, but 7,000 August 15 puts. So if you're looking for shorts, you've got a little bit of ways to get to that support of the 200-day moving average, and then look at the puts that were bought today in SMH, the semi ETF. 8,000 of those. Look at the puts in Intel today. 52,000 Intel puts went up today. Intel started to break down. What, last week was it? This looks ugly. This one really looks ugly. You've got some support, I guess, back here, which is basically where it is now. But they've been buying Intel puts for the last about the last week. So it really helps to kind of watch the flow and watch the kind of change, basically the change in flow from where we saw a lot of call buying. Now we're seeing a lot of put buying. How long is that going to last? I don't know. I would basically watch, go back to the SMH chart. We're right at the 50-day moving average. If we break that, and I talked about this earlier, I said the more you kind of, the more that you touch a support level, the more vulnerable, to me, it starts to get. So we've been kind of, we weren't really able after this big candle where we kind of fell down. We didn't get all the way to the 50-day moving average, but we really didn't get far away from it. So you get the first break in a while on again, second big day of heavy volume in semis. So you do have the 100-day moving average here, but I would watch for some type of confirmation that this selling is over with. I will tell you a little bit about the flow that we saw today. In the morning, it was kind of same type of normal flow. We saw some call buyers and a couple of really, not a lot of call buyers in tech at all. A lot of things like, Micron, which we've seen call buying in, a couple industrial names, a couple of the metals names. So call buying, there was call buyers in the market this morning, but in a whole bunch of different things. I don't want to say off the radar things, but just kind of tier two, tier three things that we saw call buying in, not your regular, things that we see. Then once the selling started to pick up, I think I mentioned a lot of the put buying. We really didn't see. I always stay glued to the tape once we do have some volatility. I want to see if anybody starts to buy, especially at the end of the day. Really didn't see much buying go on. Maybe a couple really tiny orders. One in like Facebook, but nothing to. I'm not even going to bring up the trade because it was so small. So, what does that mean for? And then also. I think I already talked about biotech, but biotech had a reversal day yesterday. I did not short biotech, but you could see that this is a kind of looks like a shooting star candle, and this thing coming down pretty hard today on the no deal in the Senate for healthcare, down 3.5%. So if you missed this move, see if it comes back. This dotted line is the breakout zone. I'm not saying we're going to go down another 3.8%, but maybe the 20-day moving average might be something to kind of look at. It might be a little bit trouble with biotech for the next couple of days, considering I don't think they're voting this week at all, unless they come out and say something else. But this closed on the lows as well today. So, and then for the positives, I would say, very similar to. Let me just bring up. Very similar to this day. If you remember, this was quadruple witching, the week of quadruple witching, the 6-9 sell-off. If you remember that day, what outperformed? I believe it was banks. So banks actually finished up on the day, although way off the highs. But if we go back to 6-9, you could see banks were up that day. So, could be a little bit of a rotation as well taking place, but just kind of odd. Obviously not as big of actually a red arrow from where it opened, a red bar, I should say. But there were some sectors, mainly the banks, were positive today. Retail gave back their gains as well. We kind of saw a second day of a bounce in retail, but XRT finished flat on the day. So that may be as far as that bounce is going. Um, so I was actually trying to play Home Depot today as well for a bounce. It did end up positive the other day. I made a little bit of money, but then, once we see a lot of big selling in one area, it spills over to other areas. So I kind of just got out of things pretty quickly today. The one question mark I would say for today, if you would have told me, hey, spies finished down almost 1%. Qs were down almost 2%. What would bonds do? I would say, oh, the bonds probably moved up, about a 0.5%. Nope. The long bond kind of corrected a little bit today, so there was really no place to hide in this market. Maybe other than the banks. Uh, Bonds were down close to 1%. If you look at TLT, some people who don't look at futures and look at this probably say, "Oh, that was a reversal candle yesterday." But when you look at ZB, which is futures, which are more of a continuous market, really not much of a reversal bar here. So we'll see if this holds. They are in an uptrend, the bonds. Let's see if it holds the 20 period moving average. So if you've kind of been sitting on the sidelines and say, "Hey, I haven't gotten into a TLT. I've missed fear of missing out on a long TLT trade." Let's see if this holds here. Gold also kind of, we did see some gold call buying today, both weeklies. 13,000 of the June of this Friday's 120 calls. However, even gold sold off at the end of the day. That gave back a lot of the gains. So, it is right around the 200-day moving average. I was watching GDX today. You could see we basically just got to the top of value in gold and sold off right at the end. I was watching GDX today for a long. Nope, did not get into the value. Did not trigger a buy signal, and sold off at the end of the day. We tried a couple times. Looks like there was some buying going on here in cash, but did not finish there. So the last thing I'll say is, with bonds and gold really lackluster today. This didn't exactly make sense to me as a true risk off day with those not really rallying. So, for me, I'll probably kind of wait and look for a little bit of confirmation for tomorrow. I didn't really buy anything at the end of the day because we didn't see any option buyers at the end of the day, kind of dip buyers. And number two, the VIX closed on the highs. So you can see it's a couple red bars here, but I generally will start buying once I see the VIX start or stop rising, which it did not. So, 1106, we talked about this in the weekend newsletter. We talked about how the VIX under a 10 is not the place to really add a lot of risk. So that worked out pretty well. All right. So thanks for watching tonight's video, and see you guys in the trading room bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a great night.